Hello, welcome to the Black Ponder. I'm Neil Trotter, and today we're just chilling again at the park. We're going to be talking about Eastern philosophy this time, and we're going to be talking about one of the greats, Confucius. And we're going to talk about one of the great philosophical works, the Analects. Here it is. Now, the Analects was not written directly by Confucius. It was written by his disciples. A lot of recordings of Confucius's quotes and his interactions with people, and it breaks down his philosophy very nicely. It's one of the few reliable sources that we have of Confucius's philosophy. Now, Confucius is one of the greats of philosophy. When you throw out the term philosophy, a general public, they'll think of, people like Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and they'll think of people like Confucius, right? And he could be stereotyped or generalized a lot. And I just wanted to share with you some of his quotes so we can break down his philosophy. Now, the Analects, they talk about a lot of things, but I just want to focus on what he felt about critical thinking, which is, I feel, very important skill, underdeveloped skill in our society. And Confucius had a lot to say about critical thinking, and I think philosophy has a great role to play in building that skill. So let's begin. Let's just dive in there, and I'll just share with you some quotes, and we can just talk about what he thought about this. This is from book 2 of the Analects. The master said, "If one learns from others but does not think, one will be bewildered. If, on the other hand, one thinks but does not learn from others, one will be in peril." And this quote is talking about how sometimes we try to just learn facts or just knowledge. We try and become intelligent, but we don't really learn for the sake of constructive output. I think sometimes we often try and learn things trying to be like a computer, because a computer can crunch numbers really quickly, very fast, and it can even start to learn facts. And we have this, now artificial intelligence is getting really high up there. But what's important is not only learning the facts, but learning how to use knowledge to make the world a better place, and make yourself a better person. That's the difference between a knowledgeable person, I feel, and just a computer. I think sometimes you can fall into that trap with philosophy. A lot of people that are interested in philosophy, that tends to happen, right? They're just interested in just learning philosophy just for the sake of learning the facts and understanding complex ideas, and that just gratifies them, which is cool. But I think that if you want to take it a step further, you can, after you learn these facts, okay, how do I use these facts to better improve myself and create benefit for others? To say you know when you know, and to say you do not when you do not, that is knowledge, right? And that just brings you back to old Socrates, right? You got to know that you don't know everything. And you can't be afraid when you come across something that you're not aware of or you're not knowledgeable about. And you got to be open to new ideas. Not so much be open to accepting those new ideas, but learning about them. I think you see that a lot. I think what happens is people are ignorant and they don't want to admit that they're ignorant, and they get afraid, and that kind of turns to anger. Oh, I know what's going on, but you really don't. Or I know this person, or I know these group of people, but you really don't. And if you just took a minute to step back and take some time and learn, like, okay, what is this really about? Who are these people? Where are they coming from? Is there anything I can learn from this experience that I don't know already? That's true knowledge. This is from book 3. "I have yet to meet the man who, on seeing his own errors, is able to take himself to task inwardly." And that's exactly what I'm talking about. When you find out that you're wrong, you need to acknowledge that you're wrong, and not be afraid or so much embarrassed, but just try and learn from the experience and try to grow and be open to new knowledge and not be closed to it. And that's true wisdom, right? That's a truly wise person. A wise person acknowledges when he or she is wrong and then takes steps to reflect. What am I missing here? What can I learn that will better help me understand why I was wrong? The master said, "I am a fortunate man. Whenever I make a mistake, other people are sure to notice." And Confucius is saying right there, like, yeah, I'm fortunate. That's a great thing that there's people around me that, call me out when I'm wrong and say, "Hey, Confucius, you're wrong about that. You need to take a step back." And for Confucius to be like, "Oh, okay, you think so? Well, let's talk about it. Why am I wrong? Tell me why I'm wrong, and let's see if you got a good point." And being open to that. That's true wisdom, right? Being happy when people call you out and are able to give you critical feedback, right? Instead of not being happy when you might be wrong, like legitimately wrong, and people call you out on it, and then you get upset or angry. Then you start being really defensive or closed-minded. Whenever we realize that we're ignorant about something, we take it as an opportunity to become more wise, to gain more knowledge, and become a better person, rather than take that as a flaw, as a character defect, an attack on one's character. Not necessarily so. Someone said, "Repay an injury with a good turn." What do you think of this saying? The master said, "What then do you repay a good turn with? You repay an injury with straightness, but you repay a good turn with a good turn." I think that's a pretty cool quote, because there's that moral argument that says that, when somebody does wrong to you, you turn the other cheek, or you still do good by somebody else. But Confucius is saying, look, when somebody does wrong to you, you don't necessarily do wrong to them, but you be straight to them. You tell them straight up, like, "Hey, you're doing wrong to me, and this is why you're doing wrong to me." You're honest about it. You let them know. You don't immediately respond to a negative action with another negative action. You respond to a negative action with straightness, with upfront honesty, letting somebody know how you damaged them. And again, this goes back to the whole, when somebody makes a mistake, a person should be open to that mistake. So when somebody, maybe they'll make a mistake or make an error, and this error results in a negative impact on somebody, then that person who's being negatively impacted by the wrongness should be straight with that person and say, "Hey, what you're doing is you're hurting me. You're messing me up, and this is why you're messing me up," instead of just walking up to the person and socking them, or like doing some violent action to them, or trying to reciprocate in equal negativity. Because what happens then is nothing ever gets solved, right? Nothing gets resolved. And each side needs to be open to that straightness and be open to learn and grow. Maybe that person that was doing wrong didn't realize that they were doing wrong. It's not always somebody's fault for being ignorant. Maybe they just really didn't know. It's a good opportunity for both people. The person that's been done wrong to, they can realize, hey, oh, okay, this person really didn't understand how he or she hurt me. So I need to explain this to him the best I can. Now, you take that so far. If they're not trying to listen and they're refusing your explanation, that's a whole nother situation. But at least try and be straight with them at first, because that's an opportunity for both people to become more wise. Let's continue. That last quote was from book 14, actually. And this quote is from book 15. The master said, "I once spent all day thinking without taking food and all night thinking without going to bed, but I found that I gained nothing from it. It would have been better for me to have spent the time in learning." Again, this is like a reference again to a computer. Like sometimes we try and just memorize facts or just try to learn something just for the sake of being intelligent or trying to outsmart somebody. Kind of like if you were studying to be on like a trivia game show like Jeopardy, Nothing against Jeopardy. Jeopardy is fun. It's cool. But it shouldn't just be about just learning facts and methods just for the sake of knowing that, and then being able to think fast and process information quickly. Because basically, then you're just a computer, right? Knowledge becomes meaningful when you learn from it, when you take that knowledge and then use it to become a better person. And what does that mean, becoming a better person? That means contributing in a positive way to society, to the environment around you, making the world a better place through your knowledge, what you know. And honestly, that's how you make the world a better place, is you learn knowledge and then you apply that knowledge constructively. That's how the world becomes better. The master said, "The gentleman devotes his mind to attaining the way and not to securing food. Go and till the land, and you will end up by being hungry. As a matter of course, study, and you will end up with the salary of an official. As a matter of course, the gentleman worries about the way, not about poverty." Another good quote talking about how even back then the reason why people studied was because they just wanted to focus on their job capabilities, their career capabilities, their ability to earn money, to earn salary, that's important. Let's not get that wrong. That's important, but that's not the most important thing, right? We kind of trick ourselves and we think that if I go to college, if I learn this trade, then I'll be able to make myself a marketable person. A company will be able to use me to make money, and then that way I become useful and I become meaningful. I can become a provider through my ability to make money because of all of this knowledge that I've gained. We think that all the time. Now we're going through this era where college is not guaranteeing people well-paying jobs, right? And then people are kind of disillusioned, like, oh, why did I go to college, right? Because I'm not getting a good job. And there's all the issue of college debt. You took on all these college loans, and that's a whole other thing, right? But I think we forget that higher education, or just not even higher education, just like learning on your own, is just good to grow as a person, to learn how to become a better individual, to learn how to contribute better to society, right? To learn how to be more constructive, not just being able to learn how to make money better, right? I think because we've been obsessed with this idea that that's what learning is about. It's just about like, okay, I'm learning primarily because I'm just trying to be able to make more money, and that's not been the case in this generation, the millennial generation, Generation Y, and that and it's messed up in its own way. But it's also a reality check. It's also like, okay, maybe that's not the most important thing to make money. Maybe there's something more to learning than just that. It's important to learn also to address the concerns of the world, the issues that are threatening the welfare of society. That's also a good reason to learn. This is from book 18. Not to enter public life is to ignore one's duty. Even the proper regulation of old and young cannot be set aside. How, then, can the duty between ruler and subject be set aside? This is to cause confusion in the most important of human relationships, simply because one desires to keep unsullied one's character. The gentleman takes office in order to do his duty. As for putting the way into practice, he knows all along that it is hopeless. I think that's a very important and relevant quote, even though the Analects was put together in 5th century BC, right? It still reigns true today. It's important to enter public life and to use your skills for sociological good. Oftentimes I'll get comments where people will say, oh, I don't really care too much when you talk about like current affairs or politics or environmental issues, right? And I just want you to just talk about philosophy, just the field of philosophy by itself. But my opinion is that what's the point in studying philosophy if you're not going to apply them to current affairs and problems that we deal with today? Like, what's really the point? I see it kind of, philosophy as meaningless if you can't really apply it to help improve the issues that we're dealing with as a society. I remember I got this comment where somebody was saying, oh, I think that philosophy is pure. Philosophy is great because it doesn't incorporate things like race or gender or religion or just things like that. And it's pure because it's all about the methods and the concepts. But again, it just, in my opinion, what's the point in learning about these methods and concepts if you can't use them for anything other than mental exercise? If that's it, then really philosophy really is dead. And I do think people say that about philosophy. Philosophy is dead, and they bring up a good point. Is because people that don't really know much about philosophy don't really understand how you can apply it to real world issues. And also there are people who are into philosophy that don't want to apply it to real world issues. They just want to keep it in that abstract logic, numbers, systems, methods just for the sake of methods, complexity just for the sake of complexity, mental exercising, right? And they just want to keep it there. But what Confucius is saying is like, look, learning is more than just learning just for the sake of learning, right? You also have to apply it to public life, to society, to make it meaningful, to make it worth something. And I agree. I think that's one lesson that Confucius imparted in his philosophy. There's a difference between a wise person and a computer, right? Because a computer is pretty intelligent as well. It can memorize facts in fractions of seconds, right? It can crunch numbers and interpret methodologies like no joke. But how do we apply these methodologies? How do we use them? What do we use them for? And why do we use them, period? This is what's important. This is where the meaning comes from. That's what I think, though. That's just me. That's what, to my opinion, this channel is about. It's about learning philosophy, not just for the sake of learning philosophy, because it's cool. It is cool, but also learning philosophy and applying it to make the world a better place. That's one of the things I hope this channel to be. Am I going to do more videos about current affairs, about issues in our society? Absolutely. And will I be tying them together with philosophy? No doubt, because I feel that that's very important. But if that's not your thing, it's all good. It's cool. You can watch or not watch. It's whatever. I'm not in this for views or subscriber count. But I would just encourage you to just be open, like Confucius says, that it is possible to be wrong, that your way of thinking might not be the correct way, or it could be the correct way, and just be open to other interpretations, other ideas, and take different perspectives as opportunities to learn and grow. Not saying every perspective and idea is correct or worth learning about, but just being open and not just being closed-minded to at least listen. Anyway, Confucius, one of the great thinkers of philosophy, an ancient philosopher. Everybody knows the name, but they might not know his philosophy. I would encourage you to check out the Analects and to get into some ancient Eastern philosophy, because the man had a lot of useful things to say that are still quite applicable in society today. Well, you've been listening to The Black Ponderer. Tune in next time for more philosophical thought.